Hi there, you are listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name's Matt Wakeling, and this is the show that I produce in Sydney, Australia, where I speak to leading guitarists and guitar figures from all around the world. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, today's episode is not only number 132, it also marks our 4th anniversary. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's tuned in at some stage over the last 4 years. It's been a lot of fun, and there's lots more guitar talk to be had. Hey, today I'm speaking to an incredible Australian guitarist, Orianthi, born in Adelaide, has been living in the States, most specifically in LA for the last 15 or so years, and has carved out an incredible career. She's a platinum-selling solo artist, just about to release her 4th much-anticipated solo album. But also as a side woman guitarist, she's worked with people like Michael Jackson, Alice Cooper, Carrie Underwood, Steve Vai, Carlos Santana. An unbelievable career. And yet through a lot of hard work and some good breaks, she's worked with these people. We hear all the great stories behind those gigs and her own solo career as well. So let's jump straight in with the great Guitar Hang with Orianthi. Orianthi, welcome to the Guitar Speak podcast.
Thank you. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well here in Sydney. How's things in LA?
Yeah, pretty crazy, but staying in my studio and I'm working a lot on new songs. I'll probably have a whole new album by the end of this. And just sort of, getting on the phone with my family in Adelaide, in Australia a lot, FaceTiming them, FaceTiming my friends. This is pretty crazy to be living life this way, and who would have thought?
Yeah, definitely.
This would have happened to everybody. So
yeah, I mean, it was only I don't know, a matter of weeks ago. You've been working on your 4th solo album for a while now, and it looked like we're getting towards a release for that. Has COVID-19 put a pause on your release or finishing that off or anything like that?
Things are still moving forward, actually, considering like one of the guys actually from the label was in Italy. So
okay, wow.
And then Nashville, my management's in Nashville. And then, so we're kind of just trying to deal with things. And my producer is in Nashville too. So we're on the phone a lot. But I'm super excited about this record. We did it in 28 days. It's with Marty Fredrickson, who is an amazing producer, songwriter, and friend. And it was just done really fast. It's a whole new sound, experimenting with like different tones to different synth sounds, layers. We basically did everything ourselves. It was me and Marty, and his son Evan played drums on it and bass, and I played with a bass, and then it was so much fun. I really had a great experience, and I can't wait to put this out. It's been a while now because I recorded it last year, and just with the industry, the way everything is, it's so different now, and I wanted to put it out like obviously properly, so everyone gets to hear it around the world and everything. But it's a different kind of deal we sort of worked out and all that. So I'm just super excited to put out new music. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've done a full record, since Heaven in This Hell and RSO, which I did, as well, and all of that. And everything I've done, I'm proud of. There's just different, kind of, I don't know, like pieces of my sort of life, like sort of situations and time and all that. And you look back and you reflect. You go, okay, that was that phase, and then it's different chapters. So this next record is another chapter, and I'm ready to make the next record now too. So people will be constantly getting, obviously like new music and all of that. So yeah.
Cool. So cool. Yeah, Heaven in This Hell, I think that came out around 2013. So, I mean, that's a while between solo albums, but you've fit so much music in between then and now. Obviously, that's going to rub off in some way, all the different gigs and people you worked with. So it does make the next chapter really, really interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, I learned so much, and it's just so fun. I mean, and it's an honor, the fact I get to jam out with so many of my idols and people I look up to immensely. They call me to, like Robbie Kreiger is a dear friend of mine, and he's like, hey, come and jam and anytime. It's like, it's pretty wild. And to have, friends like that, it's just around LA, and always like, just hang out and jamming. Steve Vai, everybody who's around here, and we just, Steve Lukather, everyone. It's pretty crazy. It's wild, but I just love it. I love to be able to just sit around and create, write, jam, to do this for a living. I mean, it's not an easy industry to be in by any means. You've got to really, I don't know, kind of take care of yourself mentally too, because there was a lot of ups and downs. You know, you go from 0 to 100, and then you got to deal with the in between.
So you moved to the States fairly young. You were like, was it early 20s? You must have been around 20 years old when you moved there from Adelaide.
Yeah, I was around 19, 20. I moved here. I signed with Interscope Records. Jimmy Iovine signed me. And I made my first record. I started making it then. So I was kind of thrown into this whole wild situation. But, before then, I quit school when I was 15. I played in 3 cover bands in Australia. I was signed my first management deal when I was 14. And I opened for Steve when I was 14, toured with ZZ Top when I was 16. And then, just wrote and recorded as much as I could, saved up money. My parents obviously, supported me in my vision and my insanity, which is wonderful. And they were like, go for it. And then kept on coming over to the NAMM show. Paul Reed Smith, guitars, Paul himself invited me to come play in his booth. So I demonstrate in the booth a lot. And then I finally just got a record deal because an A&R person who worked with Ron Fair, who was in the audience one night when I was playing the Grove in Anaheim, with Santana, was there, and he heard me and then told Ron Fair and Jimmy Iovine. So I went in to Jimmy's place, actually played it in his basement for him, and then the backing tape I made, and then played for Ron Fair as well. And that was pretty wild, getting that sort of opportunity and going, okay, wow, like, because I got so many rejection letters, with different demos and things I'd be sending out to record labels and everything from the age of 14, and then I finally got that deal. It was a long road even back then, and then getting it is like the holy grail. And then you got to work more because you got to find the songs, producer, vision, everything. And then found that, and then Michael Jackson called me when I did my record and asked if I would join him. So I was like, sure. So I didn't tell the label, and I went and worked with him. And then when he passed, that's when they put out the record straight after that. So it was very emotionally, it was all crazy and amazing, but also very emotional and difficult when I look back on that time as well, So
Sure. That's a really intense handful of years. I guess by the time you moved to the States, you were already, as you said, you'd already been gigging and writing and demoing for 5 or 6 years. So whilst you were young, you're still very experienced.
Yeah, playing in pubs in Australia, I mean, as you know, it's not easy because people are, you play 3 sets until 3 a.m., and I was 14, 15, 3 nights a week. And then during the week, I'd be songwriting and recording. So I learned how to record myself. My dad, actually, he taught me how to record. And then I also went and sat in a studio, I think it's called Fat Track, something like that. And I would sit with the engineer there, and he would teach me how to sort of record things as well. And I learned how to use like a Roland 2480 to, Tascam, and then Fostex and all this kind of stuff, and how to mic things. And, so I do that now in my own studio. I like to record my own stuff with Logic, and I use GarageBand actually in Logic, but because it's easy. But there's nothing like the analog recordings though. That's the one thing. I was talking about this the other day with my friends. I'm like, Pro Tools and all this digital stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's like looking at it's like the soul and everything you get from records, vinyl records that you listen to. There's nothing like that personality. And now everything is like under surgery lights. You know what I mean? It's like when you record something with Pro Tools, everything's so clear, and it's like, it's pretty crazy. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, I must say. Sure. It's all right though.
Sure. I guess it's got its practical advantages, but you're still digging the analog thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, I prefer, I mean, the last record I did actually at Blackbird Studios with Dave Stewart, who's a dear friend of mine, we recorded it in the live room, and then we bounced it to reel-to-reel, so to tape. And that, I mean, it just added some real warmth to it. And which I'd really dug. And then this last record as well, I mean, it sounds, I mean, there's a lot of sounds that are kind of like analog and all that. So yeah, I'm always going for that, even when using digital stuff, so platforms. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. You mentioned Dave Stewart, so he produced Heaven in This Hell. That album, yes. It seemed like a bit of a departure from your previous couple of records, which were maybe more pop rock, to a looser, heavier kind of a thing. If I can just back up though, the first time I heard you, I didn't know it was you. I knew of you, and According to You came on the radio. I thought, yes, a cool pop tune. This is rocking. But I couldn't believe, and I was so happy to hear how loud the guitars were. I thought, at last, a pop tune with loud guitars again.
You know what was funny? When I did that song, I walked into the studio and I said, I'm going to put down like an 80s tapping guitar solo. It's going to be loud. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm going to turn up the guitar so loud. And it was so funny. And I did it not as a joke, but kind of as a joke at first. Because I was like, I don't know, put this on the radio. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. But then I said to everybody, I'm like, you know what? That's a point of difference. I'm a guitar player. I can't just put out a song where I'm just singing. I got to, highlight that. And then hopefully kids will see it and be inspired to learn guitar. So if we do it in the right way, with the right director for the music video too, it can look exciting and fun, and it'll get kids into it and get people, just inspired to play. And I somehow convinced everybody, and they thought it was a good idea. And it went, it was platinum everywhere. So
it was massive,
went
yeah.
Up. And then the second, and then I was like, I want to do a music video for an instrumental song. And I was like, okay. And so I went, my dear friend, Steve Vai, and we wrote Highly Strung, and that got on Guitar Hero and got millions of views too. And that was so much fun. Doing an instrumental track that getting that much attention to was pretty wild. But fun times, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That track's killer. So amongst this very poppy album, which did fantastically well, the album's Believe we're talking about, with the big hits. Yeah. Having a ripping instrumental on there as well was brilliant. And I think Suffocated got on Guitar Hero as well.
It did. Yeah. Suffocated, Highly Strung, According to You. Yeah. All those tracks did. And it was pretty wild, but, I'm really proud of that record. That was the first, it was on a major label. It was a big deal. It was a big part of my life. It really kind of, I just feel very grateful that I had the opportunity to make something like that with all those different writers, from Desmond Child to, just Steve, to everyone that was involved with that record, and then making the second record with, Dave Stewart, was a blast and amazing. And then, I did a track with Steven Tyler on that one, and actually Marty produced that one on that track, on that album too. Okay, and then making this one with Marty. So it was kind of, it seriously just like so much fun. And then obviously doing the RSO thing too was good experience. And I'm just proud of every record because, as I said, different kind of phases of my life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. The guitar tones on Say Heaven in This Hell, you seem to be broadening your tones. There's some really nasty fuzz stuff on there, on How Do You Sleep. I think I'm hearing some slide on a track like Fire, and some really heavy riffier stuff too. So by then, that was always in your pocket as a player, of course, but you seem to pull that kind of stuff out a little bit more to the front.
It was more of a bluesy kind of voodoo rock, I call it, record.
Nice.
With a bit of pop on there too. But I'm predominantly like a blues rock player. Like that's what I grew up listening to, which is Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray, Santana, all of that, John Lee Hooker. So going back to that, and when I would jam out with Dave Stewart, he'd be like, we should just make a record like that, because a lot of people don't know that you play like a lot of bluesy kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let's just do something. And I went and visited Blackbird Studios, and I'm like, this is wild. And then Hyundai asked me to do a commercial, and I cut All Right Now, actually.
Yeah, the free tune. Yeah, I've seen that. It's so good.
Yeah, so we cut that, and when I was there, I was like, let's just make a full record. So I'm cutting the commercial, and then I said to Dave, let's just do a full record since we're here. And he's like, yeah. So we called in all the amazing top players in Nashville, Tom Bukovac. So many people who came in and played, and it was crazy. It was a good time, and in the big live room. And most of the tracks were actually cut live in one day. We went back and did overdubs. But that record was pretty much done in a couple of weeks. And then, so it's got that kind of live feel to it, which I wanted to keep. It was kind of raw. And then I got a call from Alice Cooper when I was there in Nashville. He's like, oh, my guitar player just left for Thin Lizzy. Would you join? I'm like, okay, sure. He got 25 songs learned in a week. And I'm like, all right, sure. And then not knowing how in depth, like, all of his songs were, I was like, oh my God. And when I listened to, especially Halo Flies, 9 minutes long, these songs, well, one song is, but the rest were just, you know, they're all the different guitar parts are very well orchestrated, and it's a lot to retain in that amount of time, you know? So I kind of just, I was on overload. I told everybody to leave me alone for about a week. And then the first gig we played was actually on Jay Leno, and then we did play the Whiskey. And then we went on a world tour for about 4 years. So that was crazy.
Was that was it a 3 guitar lineup then?
Yeah, it was myself. Well, it actually changed because initially it was Steve Hunter, Tommy Hendrickson, and myself.
Yep.
And then it changed to Ryan Roxy, Tommy, and myself.
Okay, so. Yeah. I saw Alice a couple of years ago in Sydney, and it was the 3 guitar lineup as well. Nita Strauss was in there, and I was so impressed how well arranged 3 guitars worked over that material. Even some of the old material, which is, you know, clearly 2 guitarists, you know, the Steve Hunter sort of era stuff. But yeah, that must have been a lot of fun, like slotting into that band.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, I got to tell you, like, because of the time frame and everything, I was like a week to learn everything. And then Damon Johnson, who left, but he's amazing. He's an incredible player. He left with Thin Lizzy. He actually came in and helped me learn Halo of Flies and a few others, because I was like, I can't remember all this. He goes, just think of it about like 3 songs. It's like 3 songs in one. I'm like, okay. So then I got it. You know, it was wild. But honestly, amazing time. Alice Cooper's one of the best people on this planet. And his wife, Cheryl, and the whole band, my brothers, we stay in contact. Like every other week we contact each other, and love Nita too. We're all friends. You know, that's a cool thing. It's like, you know, being on the road and living with people for like 4 years, on a bus, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
And being basically on tour like for 10 months of the year, 9 to 10 months, it was pretty intense, but fun.
Cool. Now you mentioned the Michael Jackson gig. I know it's been really well documented, but can you just talk us through how did that come about? You say Michael Jackson rang me up, but what was surrounding that?
Well, I played the Grammy Awards with Carrie Underwood, and he was looking for a guitar player, and he saw me play the Grammys, and then he was looking on YouTube, and then he asked around, and then Carlos Santana mentioned me as well to Michael. And then Michael Bearden, who was a musical director, he was looking around too. And my name came back so many times. And Michael Jackson was actually on YouTube, and he decided upon me come in and learn the song. So I was working with Diane Warren that day when I got this message through MySpace saying, what we're looking for, Michael Jackson's been looking at YouTube videos. I'm like, what? Is this like some weirdo? You know what I mean? It's like weird. As I told her, everyone was like, is this real? And so my manager called, and he's like, yeah, it's real. And then he called me, Michael did, and then Michael Bearden called me. He's like, will you learn Do Diana, want to be starting something, and beat it, and come in the next day and then play it for everyone, including Michael, and play it with the band. And I was like, oh my God, okay. And so it was pretty wild experience. I mean, I've never been that nervous in my life, to be honest with you. So I walked in there, tried to do the best job I could. But I mean, you can't go in with a mindset going, I'm going to fill anyone's shoes. You're going to do your own thing to it. And that's what I did. I was like, I'm an artist. I'm more of an artist than I am like a guitar player or whatever. I just consider myself, I started writing songs before I started playing lead guitar, you know, and singing. So I'm kind of like, I'm going to approach this solo as an artist. I'm not going to play it the way they played it. I'm going to play it more bluesy, different, you know, voicings and whatnot. And hopefully he digs it. And he did, and he hired us all. And it was wild. But I was so nervous because I'm like, I hope he likes what I'm doing, and you know, you never know. So it's crazy.
And was the audition with a full band, or were you playing the tracks or something?
Yeah, it was a full band. We all played for him, and he sat down on the couch in front of us, and they dimmed the lights, and he's like, I want to hear the guitar. I was like, really loud. And I was like, oh God. And I was like, and he was like just staring at me, and he goes, that's great, you can play the solo, but can you play the solo while you're walking around with me? And I'm like, not yet. He goes, well, you got to practice that. And I'm like, all right. So I'm like practicing the Beat It solo around my apartment at the time. I was living in West Hollywood, and it was wild because I think people just thought, oh my God, this crazy, like a Michael Jackson fan has moved in like next door. And when it stopped playing that freaking Beat It solo. So and I had a Pomeranian at the time too, and she wouldn't stop barking. So it was like I was being chased by the Pomeranian, barking, beat it solo. My neighbors wanted to kill me. There was no question about that.
Awesome. Amazing. And I mean, even though the tour obviously didn't happen, it's incredibly sad. The documentary that came of that really shone another spotlight on you. I guess the Carrie Underwood thing, a lot of people were saying, who's that guitar player? And then when This Is It was released, a much larger audience were asking the exact same question.
Yeah, it was pretty insane, the whole situation. I mean, for everybody involved, because we got really close. I mean, we all became like this, musical family, and it was 3 or 4 months, I think we were rehearsing for, like intense. So I think it was that long. Honestly, I really don't know. Maybe I'm totally off. Because, we got to figure that out. But it seemed like a really long time. We were together working, and we just looked up to Michael immensely. He was like the sweetest to everybody, and obviously, one of the greatest entertainers that ever lived, and pop singers and dancers, everything. Mm-hmm. So it was just a huge loss for the whole world, but we lost like a leader and part of the whole thing. So it was very emotional, very, very emotional. And we didn't believe it. It took a while to really sink in for everybody when it happened, because it was so sudden and unexpected and weird, and just like really that, like he passed, like, and so and then I was thrown into doing all this media and everything for it. And then the label were like, okay, we're putting out your album too. So I had just literally had to, like, emotionally, I was just in a weird place where I sort of put everything in a compartment, and I think it came out later, and that was not mentally good for me, like, what I mean, to sort of deal with. And, and I guess in Germany, when I played Give In To Me, that's when it really hit me. And I was like playing this big radio station. Everything was going great. My single was like platinum everywhere. Everything was happening, and I was unhappy. So, because I was unhappy because I just didn't feel like I had the time to really, for everything just kind of sink in, you know what I mean? And really kind of deal with it.
Yep.
And then have I kind of probably needed a short break, and then to come out with a record. But it was just like full on, like bam, bam, like just all this stuff happening. And look, I'm very grateful at the success and everything. I worked really hard for it too, but it was a very crazy time in my life. So moving forward, everything I'm doing now is at a certain pace, and everything that works around me and my manager and everyone, we're going to make sure things are, you got to take care of, everyone's going to take care of themselves. You know what I mean? We've all, as artists and just everyone on this planet, we just mentally and emotionally, and just when things happen, you just got to have that time to figure it all out.
I imagine, you, in mid-20s, you'd been around the industry a lot, but still, we're all relatively young at that age, even with all the things you'd been involved with. And, processing something that big must have been incredibly hard.
I was a different person back then, for sure, than I am now.
Sure.
Definitely. Because everything was like just flashing in front of me. Like I had a gazillion one things going on, and, you have, an amazing, I was 19 Entertainment. I was with Simon Fuller. So I had Interscope Records with Geffen. I had like all this stuff going. I had this band, I had a tour, I had buses, I had tour manager, I had stylists, I had makeup. Everything was like a circus. It was crazy. And, you're doing Good Morning America, you're doing all that stuff, and it's just 5 a.m. You got to get up every day, start hair and makeup, go straight into it, work out in the afternoon if you can. You know what I mean? It's just full on until nighttime. Then you're just exhausted, and you get on a plane and then you go somewhere else. So, I remember getting off stage after doing that for 3 months straight, which was getting up at 5 a.m. every day, right? Playing, doing the radio shows, all that, then doing the shows, and then getting on a plane after a show in Vegas straight to Japan. No, Singapore. Mm-hmm. And then getting off the plane and going straight into press, and then doing a show that night. So
that's intense. Everyone sees the hour and a half on stage and thinks it's very glamorous, but there's a whole other thing supporting that, which is a job in itself.
Yeah, I did that full on for a few years, and then I, as I said, joined Alice, and then did it full on for 4. So, and then went off with the RSO thing and did that on and off touring for a bit too. So, I've done looking back, it's like, okay, in different experiences, And then moving forward, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for whatever that looks like. I mean, this industry is changing every day, and this world's changing every day. So right now, music is helping people, and I'm on Instagram a lot, Instagram Live, and I'm playing requests, covers. People are calling in and saying, I want to hear you do this, or, that's not calling, but they message me and say, I want to hear this, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We do Instagram Live, and it's fun because it's just providing entertainment for free for people when they're at home. And that's what we are as musicians. We're to serve people, you know what I mean? We're to serve everybody and just provide entertainment and all that. So I'll be doing a lot more of that, and writing, and doing some streaming concerts very soon too. So we're figuring that out, how to make that work without latency and all that kind of weirdness. So that's going to be pretty soon. That's going to be pretty exciting. And I just did something for Music Cares as well with a bunch of artists, which is coming out very soon too.
Awesome. Very cool. I saw one of your Instagrams the other day. You were doing a John Fogerty tune. Can't remember.
Run for the Jungle.
Yeah, that's it. And it was like a solo electric and vocal. Man, that was cool. Playing with your fingers, which I don't always associate that with you on electric, but it was cool, man. Very, very bluesy. Very that one-man blues guy, the Robert Johnson, singing, doing the licks, doing the whole thing.
I'm a huge Robert Johnson fan.
Uh-huh.
I grew up listening to him a lot. So that's, it's funny because I usually don't play with a pick.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that, but they know that now. But a lot of the time, like before when I was doing the more shreddy stuff, I had to use a pick, and I use it live. But a lot of the time, because when I started playing, listening to Santana a lot, he has like, the way he plays is very delicate and just voicing to the notes. So I wouldn't use a pick all the time, and trying to learn his stuff. And then also playing along to a lot of blues records, and then playing classical, because I studied classical, didn't use a pick. So it's just more convenient too, because I can't find the damn picks as well. I lose them all the time. So,
that's a lifelong problem for guitar
players. It's terrible. I had so many the other day. I swear they're all gone. I don't know. I think my cat hides them too. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
They could be in the washing machine as well. That's a gold mine of guitar picks.
Yeah, I checked that. It's not there. There's definitely some kind of different. There's another realm they fall into.
Awesome.
With socks and guitar picks. They're all together somewhere.
Definitely. Hey, we've been talking about half an hour. You have dropped probably about a dozen world-class musicians' names, and not in a way other than these are just your colleagues, these are your friends. When you started out, especially when you moved over to the US, I guess, were you starstruck? Because I mean, these are just your people now. When we're talking about, you're working with Desmond Child or Santana, Dave Stewart, etc., etc. Do you still get starstruck, or are you kind of cool?
Honestly, there's certain people that, I never feel like completely 100% like comfortable around. I mean, even though I'm really good friends with like Carlos Santana, he's the reason why I play electric guitar. So I'm always like in awe and like, oh my gosh, this is Carlos. And certain people, but I mean, people like, I should say, I mean, it is crazy when I think about it. I'm going like, really, like I have, Robbie Kreiger come up at my place and we jam out and hang out with my friends. We all just jam here. And it's like, he's from the Doors, and you go, wait a second. To a lot of people, that's insane. And to me, it is insane when I think about it. But he's like, I don't know, he's like a like psychedelic, like, I don't know, like uncle, like that comes over that, you know what I mean? It's awesome. And Steve
cool.
And we just had that kind of relationship where it's like, I'll text him, we wrote songs together, and we hang out, and it's very much just a community. And I feel that here in LA, where it's like, he's very encouraging. He's just very cool. He's a really cool person and cool people. I mean, they're not, I don't know how to describe it, but kind of gotten used to it. Like, I don't know, like they're just all very good friends of mine. They're just good people,
Is there anyone you'd like to jam with that you haven't been able to yet?
So the other day, well, actually a couple of times, ran into Gary Clark, and we've been talking, and we're going to do something together in the future. We've been talking about doing that, and we've been texting and saying, let's get together and do some stuff. But I would love to play something with him because I'm a big fan of what he does. Yeah, I think he's freaking awesome. It's great.
Yeah, man, that would be a cool jam for sure, for sure.
Since we're both Gibson artists too, you're awesome. I'm just working on a brand new signature acoustic J200 with Gibson right now, so that's coming out soon.
Awesome. I saw some Insta stuff about that. You're checking out woods and different models and things. Yeah, that's super cool. What kind of?
It's such an honor because I was with Gibson a while ago, and then I left them and I went to Martin. Then I was with Taylor Acoustics, and I was with PRS Acoustics, and then they approached me and they said, "Hey, we want to do an artist like signature model for you." And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds amazing." I said, "Well, what acoustic would you like to do it with?" And I'm like, "The J200." And they're like, "Okay," because Elvis was a big influence and Johnny Cash, and so I wanted to do something with that guitar. I can't say too much, unfortunately. I can say that it's red, and I can say that I've modified it a lot to make it faster. So the neck is different, and I've modified the pickups with LR bags. So we've been on FaceTime and attention to a lot of details with this magnificent guitar, which I'm very excited about. And honestly, it's unbelievable. Like, I cannot wait to hold the first prototype. I just approved the inlays the other day over email, and that, in Montana, went up to the factory and, picking out all the woods and just like going there and seeing everybody work on these, pieces of art. And same with Paul Reed Smith. I went up to the factory and started a new model with them as well. So it's a real honor to work with these incredible companies and, be able to, create with them, something that's special and hopefully a lot of people really like. Because, I make it for myself, what I like, my preferences, but I also run it by people in the factory too, and Paul Reed Smith, all the people that, at Gibson, and they check it out too, and they come back with their comments. So it's definitely a team effort. You know what I mean? I kind of say this is what I would like, but to make it, appealing to a lot of people, and hopefully everyone really likes what we've come up with, because I'm just very excited and honored.
That's awesome. You mentioned PRS, and of course that's been the electric guitar you've been so synonymously known with. Was that a Carlos Santana influence as well?
Completely.
Yeah.
Yes, completely. I had a Fender Strat before that, and I played it a bit. It was red. It's like this apple red, and I loved it. And then because of Stevie Ray, but really it was a PRS I really took to, and my dad got me one, the secondhand one from I think it was 1987. When it was made.
That's a fairly early one.
Yeah, it was an early one because I started, it was established in 1985, the company. So it was a couple of years. It was from the old factory, and it was super heavy, and the strings were really heavy, and it was high action because it was owned by a country player. So the back of the guitar was all scratched from his country belt. Like, he used to wear a big belt. And it was like this brown color, and it wasn't the color was kind of cool, but the neck was kind of thin, and it was like, it's just a really heavy guitar, but it sounded amazing. I couldn't put it down, I was obsessed with it. And I was so grateful that my dad got it for me when I was like 11. I mean, to have a Paul Reed Smith, it was like the Holy Grail. And so I was like playing along with Santana Sacred Fire records, live video VHS, which I wore out. And then Abraxas, Zebop, Carinacia, all those records, Hendrix, Band of Gypsies, all that kind of stuff, Cream. So I basically just locked myself away for hours and hours with that guitar, and that's in my studio in Adelaide now. So I have a mini guitar collection there in my studio, and I have a collection here in LA, and I have my storage in Nashville. So
okay,
yeah,
nice. Tell me about working with Paul Reed Smith, because that happened fairly early on in your career.
Yeah, Paul Reed Smith has been a big supporter since I was 14, and I sent him my first demo, which was called Under the Influence, which is the first record I made with my dad. He recorded it on a Tascam in the living room at our home. My mother allowed us to sort of gut the living room, bring in a drummer, record it all. It was pretty wild. And, it was like this whole thing where we just sort of, I don't know, everyone sort of just jammed out, and we did a couple of covers from Santana Brothers record. And then I wrote a song on there, and it was kind of just a covers record, really. And then sent it to everybody. And Corey Smith wrote back and invited me over to NAMM when I was like 15. And yeah, and then I ended up going over there when I was like 18, I think, something like that. And then, but yeah, he was in contact with me and just said how much he really enjoyed it and liked it. And that made me feel amazing because I was like having his support. And yeah, so it's kind of been family since. I mean, Paul and Beverly over there and everyone that works at Corey Smith, they're just amazing people. I love them all.
That's super cool. And that's awesome. If you're working on a new model with them, can you tell us much about that?
It's very cool. I mean, I can't really say too much about it because, I mean, the whole idea of it is pretty wild. And it's kind of like, all I can say is that the inner child in all of us, which is going to want to pick it up and plug it in. Because, yeah, it's a little louder than most guitars. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, cool. We will stay tuned. We'll stay tuned for that. There's some other really cool signature gear you've got going on right now. Let's Dean Markley, your signature strings have just come out in the last few months. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited about these strings. You know, they're a combination set. So they actually have you know, they've got, I don't know, they're kind of 9 to 52s. So they're just they're pretty, I don't know. I kind of use that gauge in the studio when I used to detune a lot with Alice Cooper. So I like the heaviness of them. And I convinced them to put it, you know, into a line of strings, which was kind of just like a combination set. And people dig them. And they're great on old tellies too, by the way. So they sound really good.
It's an interesting gauge. Tell us, what gauge are you running for those?
9 to 52s.
Yeah, wow. That's big on each end, as in big difference each end, I should say. That's cool. How'd you settle on that? Because that's pretty light up top and chunky down the bottom. Yeah,
so it's 9, 11, 17, 30, 42, 52, right? So it's basically, you know, because I love the blue steel strings, you know, because they're like kind of gently like treated, and they just kind of sound like they have that sort of, I don't know, tone. They never lose their brightness, which I really, you know, never break as well, because I used to break a lot of strings. So I was really digging the blue steels. And then when Josh Vitek, when he came in and he was like, hey, they would like to sat with you. I was like, absolutely. So I sat with them, and they sat me all these different combinations and everything. I was like, oh, this is one that actually sounds really good and feels good. Didn't feel too weird, you know. And people seem to like them. So they're available through Sweetwater. And they have been for a while. And then he also, Josh Vitek, who's a dear friend of mine, also brought in Nexi Industries, and I did 2 signature pedals with them, which is the Octava and the Nexi Plexi. So both of those are available now too, and they're great pedals. I'm not a big pedal user, but they convinced me because of the way they're made. They're just very well made, and they just sound so good, you know. And that's what it's all about for me. It's like the connection with the guitar and the amplifier, and I don't want too much interference. I usually just use a wah pedal, you know, and that's kind of my thing. But with these pedals, they're just so well made, you know, they don't interfere. They just sound good, they're quality, and I think people are really going to dig them. So
it's cool, man. The Octava's got an octave down and up. How do you like to set that up most of the
time? Well, I kind of set it like full on, like, so it sounds like a bass is following, you know, and then you got the buzz as well. So I like to crank both up completely.
Nice,
you know.
Nice. That sounds wild.
I actually used it on the new record with the new record I just made with Marty. We used it for this song called Sinner's Hymn, and also this other song which I wrote with Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, and it's called Streams of Consciousness. And that song, I'm just really excited about that song too. Like, I can't wait for people to hear this stuff.
Yeah, man, me too. I can't wait either. It's going to be cool. What other stuff did you use on the record in terms of guitars and amps and things?
I used some different guitars. I mean, I used predominantly, for the leads, obviously the Corey Smith Custom 24. But then I also did use some tellies. I did use some Les Pauls. I did use some different textures for some of the rhythms and whatnot. experimented. I used a Kemper actually for some of the stuff, but mostly I used the orange amplifier, which I use now, the Rockerverb Mark III.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's a great sounding amplifier. I love it. I don't know why I never used orange before. Could have been the color, but I just never plugged into it. And then Pat Foley, who used to work at Gibson, contacted me. He's like, you should try out these orange amps. And he actually, I think he sent me a bunch of videos, and I was like, wow, that tone's amazing. And then he sent me the head, and I plugged in, and I was like, wow, this is wild. And it felt like like a glorified like Marshall situation meets a Dumble thing. So I'm like, okay, I love this. And then, now I'm with Orange. So I think we're working on a signature Orange amp later this year too. So that should be very cool.
Awesome. Good times. Good times. You got some straps coming out too. You could be a guitar player and just have an Orianthi rig from head to toe, except for the picks. Maybe you need some signature picks that you can't lose. That's maybe the only missing link.
I have got a ton of signature picks, and I'm going to come up with some more, actually. I've just got to get them made because I'm in desperate need. That's the one thing. But I do have some straps, which I made with Carlino guitars. Yeah. Which 10% of the proceeds actually go towards cancer research. And they're very well-made straps, and they're pretty wild. One's leopard print with turquoise. The other one's like just leather sort of with turquoise. And yeah, they're pretty out there, these straps, but I dig them, I really do. And it was fun making, and it's awesome to be approached to do this kind of stuff because accessorizing and all the, pageantry that goes around, it's a show. When you put on a show, people want to come and see things that are colorful and different. You don't want to just, be sort of normal. And I'm all about that because I'm all about every aspect of the entertainment world too, of how, you want to take people out of reality and just, create things that people haven't seen before. They're just pretty wild and out there. I like that kind of stuff. So awesome. I'll be forever doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, you only get asked to put signature stuff together if you're doing great work. So obviously these companies want to align themselves with all the great music you're making too. So that's heaps cool.
It's really cool that they approached me, and I'm like honored, as I said, like to be able to, do these things. So, it's awesome. It really is. It's very cool.
Cool. Hey, with all the amazing touring and stuff you've done, have you had any, got any particular favorite gigs or tours that stuck out for you?
Yeah, definitely Japan. We played Summer Sonic. That was 100,000 people, and it was the most wild time because we played in Tokyo and we played in Osaka. And looking at 100,000 people and they're singing back the words to your songs, and you're like, and then they're really, English isn't their first language, and you're like, oh my, honestly, the whole band were like, this is wild, and I mean that's insane. It's really insane. And then Singapore, we played Singfest. Everyone knew the words. And then Kuala Lumpur, all these different places. Brazil as well, like playing out there was wild. It was about 80,000 people there. And then we played, so many different, I don't even know, like there's been some crazy shows. I mean, I can't remember all of them, obviously, but it's just like moments. There's so many different moments. And actually up in Canada, we played this festival, which Quebec, and we had an amazing time up there too. I remember in Toronto and all that. So, there's been some cool spots. In Vegas, we played some really fun shows there too. So
awesome. Any Spinal Tap moments?
Oh, many. I think probably one of the funniest was when my bass player got her headstock caught in my hair extension, right, during the song. And it took about 2 or 3 songs for the guitar techs, 2 of them, to separate. And it was like 30,000 people in the audience, and it was filmed. And I was up in Canada actually, and I thought it was great because it was entertainment value. Like it was like, the bass player, she was like worried. She was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. She thought she was gonna get fired or something. And I thought it was great because everyone was like, going, oh, are they gonna actually separate? Is her hair gonna be ripped out? Like people were just staring like at this disaster that was happening. And it was funny. Like, I thought it was funny, even because everything sounded good. Like, the sound was good, the show was going good. It wasn't, if it was a disastrous sound and it was horrible, then I would have been very upset. You know what I mean? At the whole hair extension thing.
Sure.
But because it felt good, we're having a good evening, and that just happened.
You said it took 2 or 3 songs. Like, so you're still rocking through the set.
Yeah. And I said, you couldn't move her because I didn't want my teeth to be knocked with the microphone. So I was like, you got to hold still. And they were like trying to do it carefully. And I was like, in between songs, I'm like, well, guys, we're going to get separated at one point. So, you know, it's all good. And everyone's laughing. It was actually really funny. I think it's online somewhere, but it's all good. And, you know, it's all the entertainment aspect of things, you know.
Sure. Yeah, whoever went to that gig, they're never going to forget that. That's cool.
Yeah, they just thought it was really weird. And so, yeah, I don't wear those hair extensions anymore. The ones that were pretty much glued to my head. So clip-ins all the way these days.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Awesome.
That was wild.
Hey, it's been super cool speaking to you. Not least of all because you're an Aussie and you've been just smashing it in the States for a while. I've had a few young Aussie musicians on the show, like Tal Wilkenfeld or Joe Robinson. I don't know if you know those guys, but
Tal actually just texted me just now.
No way. That's awesome. She was cool.
Yeah, she's great. And we were just talking the other day, and she literally just texted me, and what was she saying to me here? Oh, I should say this actually on this podcast because I want to plug that she has a brand new music video that's coming out on Tuesday.
Awesome.
So go and check out Tal's music video.
Yeah,
she's
man.
Great.
She's cool. So there you go. Small world. So, but that's cool. Like, yeah, speaking to guys like her and Joe and yourself who, yeah, you guys all moved to the States at a very young age, and are killing it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, she moved over much younger than I did. I think she moved over when she was like 16, 17.
Yeah. I think Joe was about 18 or something. I don't know. Anyway, you're all doing great. So it's always fun to have guys like you on the show. And yourself, I've been a fan of you playing for a long time. So very cool to sit down and talk guitars and your career. And I can't wait for the new record to come out.
Thank you so much. And I can't wait to come back to Australia. So I'll let you know when I'm in Sydney and, you know, set you up with like tickets and all that. And we'll all hang out, you know, it'd be great.
Cool.
Fun.
That'd be awesome. Would love to see you play this stuff live for sure. Cool. Well, listen, stay safe in LA and yeah, we'll talk again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, you take care.
All right, there you go. That was pretty cool. Very cool hearing all those stories and Aussie absolutely carving it up in the States. Great to hear. And as I said, I can't wait to hear the new record. I think it's going to be killer. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, to let you know, over on the Guitar Speak podcast, I've just uploaded a series of backing tracks which are free to download and jam on, especially with world events as they are. What better time to lock yourself in your studio and do some practice? So those tracks are there for you to check out, free to use in any way you like. All right, thanks for joining me. It's been a fun 4 years and we're just going to keep talking to people about guitars. So I hope you tune in again next time on the Guitar Speak podcast. See you next time.